Who's your commander?
Good luck.
Equip.
Move to combat. Resolves.
Right.
Now, before you attack
Does
me,
anyone have an answer?
well played.
Good game.
Hey everyone, DJ here. This is the Jumbo Commander YouTube channel, and there's a brand new set coming out. It's the Brothers War, and it is hotly anticipated. But what are the best commander cards in there? What cards do you need to look out for and slot into your commander decks? I'm gonna hook you up with some of the best cards from the set right now. All right, starting off at number 10, this is a big artifact set, and so we have to pay attention to what artifacts fit into existing artifact strategies. I think that we're always looking for big things that we can cheat onto the battlefield, like maybe a Duretti style, trash to treasure type thing. And so I want to look at the 9-drop Portal to Phyrexia. 9 mana artifact. When Portal to Phyrexia enters the battlefield, each opponent sacrifices 3 creatures. At the beginning of your upkeep, put target creature card from a graveyard onto the battlefield under your control. It's a Phyrexian in addition to its other types. This is just a huge edict on its own. Could get tons of value in the multiplayer setting, but just that kind of shielded effect of every single turn reanimate means that people are going to need to get rid of this really quickly. The only way that I'm really excited to cast this is by cheating its mana cost, but that's okay because I'm super excited for Portal to Phyrexia. All right, another big artifact mythic is Cityscape Leveler. 8 mana for an 8/8 trampling construct. Whenever you cast this spell, and whenever Cityscape Leveler attacks, destroy up to 1 target non-land permanent. Its controller creates a tapped Power Stone token, and it has Unearth for 8. I want to mention this because Meteor Golem is kind of a thing. It's included in a lot of commander decks. I've played it in some decks before, and Cityscape Leveler has an arguably more powerful effect for just 1 more mana. So maybe this is going to fit in a lot of big mana decks. I am hesitant though, because you can't cheat it into play and get that kill effect, because it says when you cast this spell, you get that effect. But I also get this effect whenever it attacks. So if you don't answer my Cityscape Leveler, it's going to level the battlefield. And if you're playing an artifact deck, you might want an upgraded Shimmer Mirror. Shimmer Mirror is a staple in artifact decks, and so Liberator Urza's Battlethopter is going to be better. 3 mana, 1/2 artifact creature Thopter. It's a legend with flash, flying, and you can cast colorless spells and artifact spells as though they had flash. Whenever you cast a spell, if the amount of mana spent to cast that spell is greater than Liberator Urza's Battlethopter's power, put a +1/+1 counter on Liberator. So this can become a relevant attacking threat anyways, and still give you that awesome flashy action for your deck. I got one more artifact to talk about. It's Haywire Might. 1 mana for a 1/1 artifact creature insect. Whenever Haywire Might dies, you gain 2 life. Green, sacrifice Haywire Might, exile target non-creature artifact or non-creature enchantment. Caustic Caterpillar is a very playable card, and Haywire Might can be fetched from things like Urza's Saga and other artifact searching abilities. It also gives you a little bit of an added bonus of that 2 life, but I really like that exile. There is the downside that it's not going to be able to hit the creature enchantments and the creature artifacts, but I think that the exile edges out over that because I'm afraid of things getting brought back from the graveyard. But you know what? Answering artifacts and enchantments in green is not that exciting. Let's talk about Loran of the Third Path. 2 and a white for a 2/1 legendary human artificer. It's got vigilance, and when Loran of the Third Path enters the battlefield, destroy up to 1 target artifact or enchantment. Tap, you and target opponent each draw a card. It's a Reclamation Sage in white. This is super playable, super staple, amazing. It's my favorite card of the entire set. But wait, there's more. Vigilance is fantastic, but also the tap ability. You and target opponent each draw a card. Now, this is a symmetrical effect, but in general, I'm okay with symmetrical card draw in white. The thing that I really didn't like about cards like Secret Rendezvous was I played a spell, so I'm down a card to have you draw 3 cards and I draw 3 cards. So I'm up 2 cards, but my opponent's up 3 cards. It's not actually fair. I invested the mana too. But Loran of the Third Path is a Reclamation Sage. It got its value. It already took something out and is a creature on the battlefield. And so just remaining at parity with a different opponent by saying, let's draw, let's draw, let's draw, is exactly what I want in a white deck. You know, if I want to cast a Cityscape Leveler or a Portal to Phyrexia, I can do so easily with the next card, one with the Multiverse. 6 blue for an enchantment. Look at the top card of your library at any time. You can play lands and cast spells from the top of your library. And then once during each of your turns, you may cast a spell from your hand or the top of your library without paying its mana cost. This is a very limited omniscience and a fully powered up Future Sight. Future Sight is great. I think it is totally underplayed, but it's 5 mana and this is 8. The difference between 5 and 8 is a lot. But if one with the Multiverse sticks around, you can cast the biggest, coolest things. And you know you're going to generate that card advantage and that mana advantage as you keep casting things for free and casting them off the top of your library. It feels splashy and commandery, and I like it, but it's not going to reach the power level of some of the more efficient cards on this list. Let's talk about one of the most powerful cards. It's Calamity's Wake. 1 and a white for an instant, exile all graveyards. Players can't cast non-creature spells this turn, exile Calamity's Wake. You know, Silence is a powerful card and a staple in CDH, and people sometimes need to shut down what your opponents are doing so that you can combo off. It's especially nice when your combo is creature-based. This isn't even a weird thing. People run Silence in their white deck, Ranger Captain of Eos, or a Grand Abolisher, just to make sure they get their combo through or protect what they're doing. And having one more piece of interaction in this battle for getting your combo off makes Calamity's Wake very playable. Okay, I want to put it out there. Meld cards are very cool. They're all playable because it's awesome to put 2 cards together. But I want to mention Titania, Voice of Gaia. 1 green for a 3/4 legendary creature elemental with reach. Whenever 1 or more land cards are put into your graveyard from anywhere, you gain 2 life. At the beginning of your upkeep, if there are 4 or more land cards in your graveyard, and you own and control both this card and the card I'm about to read, transform and meld this. Now, the other card that melds with Titania is Argoth, Sanctum of Nature. It's a land, and it enters the battlefield tapped unless you control a legendary green creature. Not that bad. Tapped out a green mana, 2 green tap, create a 2/2 green bear creature token, then mill 3 cards, activate only as a sorcery. Okay, neither front side is particularly powerful, but not bad either. And in Commander, it is pretty difficult to meld things without some support. Granted, we do have a lot of support for land fetching. You could crop rotation this land on the battlefield pretty easily. But let's focus on the backside, the melded side, Titania, Gaia Incarnate. It's a legendary creature elemental avatar. It's a star with vigilance, reach, trample, and haste. Titania, Gaia Incarnate's power and toughness are each equal to the number of lands you control. And when it enters the battlefield, return all land cards from your graveyard to the battlefield. 3 and a green, put 4 +1/+1 counters on target land you control. It becomes a 0/0 elemental creature token with haste. It's still a land. Oh boy, those stats. I love the splendid reclamation attached to this. Like, it gets big, but more importantly, it just brings a ton of lands back onto the battlefield. And remember that Titania, Voice of Gaia, and the Sanctum of Nature, both of those other sides facilitate that milling strategy of getting lands into the graveyard. I'm a fan. Look, I don't think it's going to be super good, and it's going to be really hard to get Titania onto the battlefield, like the melded side. And not because you have to get 2 cards, that's hard too. Not because you got to have 4 lands in the graveyard, that's pretty easy, but because this triggers at the beginning of your upkeep. So it's very telegraphed. And Titania, Gaia Incarnate, the melded side, is really powerful. So I don't think you're going to actually pull it off before the table teams up against you to kill your cool melded creature. But look, you wanted to splendid reclamation all your lands back on the battlefield? You don't need that. Just make a bunch of lands. Awaken the Woods is X green, sorcery, create X 1/1 green, forest, dryad, land, creature tokens. oh my gosh, just put a bunch of lands on the battlefield. They happen to be 1/1s as well. Yes, they are susceptible to being murdered by board wipes, but they're still lands and you can attack with them. And they're so cool and useful. I mean, just imagine this in a landfall deck. You just pay X and then suddenly you dump a ton of lands on the battlefield and then trigger. You have all of this stuff. I mean, just imagine this in a blue deck where you bounce all non-land permanents to their hands and you still have an army of 1/1s. Like, this is fantastic. And its baseline is, I don't know, like X is 2, 4 mana to put 2 lands on the battlefield. That's normal. That's like totally normal and very playable. And so the bottom of this is totally playable and the top end is a crazy landfall, synergistic, awesome over-the-top sorcery. And the final card I want to talk about today is going to blow out your opponent's big Awake in the Woods. It's Brotherhood's End. 1 red for a sorcery. Choose one. Brotherhood's End deals 3 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, or destroy all artifacts with mana value 3 or less. I talked about how much I loved Delayed Blast Fireball because I really needed to get rid of small creatures. And Brotherhood's End does that, but has the added flexibility of taking out artifacts. And that's honestly even better. I mean, just think about the trends that Mana Ramp has now. I mean, people are obviously all running Soul Ring, but the talismans, the signets, Arcane Signet, Felwar Stone, people are trending towards these 2 mana rocks. And it also takes out the 3 mana rocks and those, small utility artifacts. I mean, just think of all of the swords, the skull clamps, the Ashnod's altars. Like, if you just go on EDH Rack and search the most common artifacts, Brotherhood's End is going to take out the majority of them. Like, it's going to obliterate all of the artifacts on the battlefield. I know that this is a great card because I've been actively running Meltdown. X and a red for a sorcery, destroy each artifact with total casting cost X or less. I've been using this to take out soul rings and treasure tokens for a while now, and it's been really, really good. But Meltdown is an $11 card, and I would argue that Brotherhood's End has just way more utility. Taking out creatures is great, but also remember that this also deals damage to planeswalkers. I know that this isn't going to come up as often, but sometimes when you're facing down a planeswalker deck, to just play a card that takes 2 of them out is gonna be great. All right, tell me what you think of my list. I think it's a nice balance of actually powerful cards that can see play at the most competitive tables, and some big fun jank that I'm certainly going to slot into my commander decks. But of course, I'm not the overwhelming authority on the best cards in this set. Tell me in the comments down below which cards I missed and which cards everyone here should be playing. Thanks for joining me for this episode. I want to thank Cool Stuff Inc., where you can pick up a bunch of these cards. And when you do, use the coupon code JUMBO5 to save 5% off your order. I also want to thank my patrons. They're amazing. They support me every day. Thank you, patrons. And of course, thanks for watching. Have a good one. Hope you're enjoying the Brothers War. Bye-bye, everyone.